John.
Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup.
For us.
He scored! Australia have done it!
John! Come on! For Shane Warne. He's done it.
We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening in today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Aussies Abroad on the B Sample Sports Network. Guys, this is episode 14. Thank you very much for sticking with us this whole time. Canberra just came out of lockdown on Friday of last week. Now, Ness, did you muck up as much as I did over the weekend?
I think the answer is that I never much as much as you. Like
Correct.
we talked about
Very
the
nice.
hail I have. No, I only had my first freedom beer yesterday, actually. So I took a little bit of time. I feel like no one wanted to come and join me for the beer that I said I was having last week. So I just continued to drink here, which is fine. But no, I definitely got out and about and sort of enjoyed a few things, which was good. And it's nice to see life, whatever it's going to be, going forward, coming back to some sort of normality. So it sounds like
I think I had about 186 beers over the weekend, so it was very good. As you can see, guys, the hat is off. The barber's done a fantastic job over the weekend, so big shout out to my barber, Ricky. It's very nice. Finally, the hat's come off. I love it. Also, as you can see, there's only two of us here this week. Bo is unfortunately having a procedure to get his nose done, some Botox, a bit of lip filler, some eyeliner and stuff, but he should be back next week. So rest up, buddy. Get well soon.
we miss you, Bo. You're leaving me with Spinks. Like, that's it.
It's tough. During the week, guys, we have teamed up with Sideline Sports Network. They've got a big following on Twitter and on Instagram, and our shows will be streaming on their YouTube channel as well. So go check out SSN-Sports, where you find all your good stuff out there. So, and one last thing, actually, two last things. We did a basketball preview last week, me and Bo and Luca. So if you guys are NBA fans, hop on the, after you watch this, of course, hop on and check out how good the NBA season is going to go for the Lakers and everyone else around us too. Finally, before we start on the news, October is Mental Health Month in Australia. And this morning I had the honour of interviewing Gus Warland. The show will probably drop in a few days' time. I'll wait until this one goes up first. Gus is an incredible man who's been on TV, radio, and he started a foundation called Gotcha for Life. And 3,000 men die from suicide every year. That's 7 a day. And his foundation is trying to help to reduce those numbers. So look for the interview, of course, but reach out to your family and friends and make sure they're okay, especially this month, but you should be doing it all the time. And that's what I want to say on that topic. So
good on you, mate. That's good. It sounds like I can't wait to listen to that interview, actually. That's
so good.
Really
I loved it. Yeah, it was great. So very nice. But yes, let's get stuck into some actual sports news right now. One of our favorite topics for the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever, has been Ben Simmons. Oh my God, it's starting to sound like a saga. It's like days of our lives. Ben Simmons has returned to Philly last week. He has now been kicked out of training and suspended for their first game of the season, which I think is tomorrow, if I ask me correctly, for conduct detrimental to the team. Now, video emerged of him at training wearing trackies with his phone in his pocket. Like, man, come on. Like, you've come back to the team. You've said, sorry, you didn't mean it. And you're trying to be a better person, but you're also being a fuckwit. Like, just try harder, man. I just don't understand.
Point with him that I'm a little bit disappointed that he's Australian because it's just not in our value system to be like that. And I think You know, he's got this amazing opportunity. He's throwing it away. And every other potential NBA team surely is looking at him going, we don't want that. We don't want that product as part of our roster. And I just don't think he's doing himself a great, he's doing himself a disservice is what he's doing. He's just making a ridicule of our Australian culture that is, you know, hardworking and fortunate, feeling fortunate.
Yeah. And I think there's so many guys out there who would take his spot in an absolute heartbeat, and he's just stuffing around doing his own thing. And I think he's not going to get picked up by anyone else. He's going to end up back over here in our league, or he's going to end up in China or Asia or somewhere and get paid nowhere near as much as he's worth over there. So it all went downhill when he started dating a Kardashian. So as long as you guys remember that, don't date Kardashians, okay?
Date people more ugly. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, definitely. Speaking of...
We're leaving that alone.
I'm done now. We'll leave that alone. Marika Korobiete, 29-year-old Marika, has retired from rugby, being with the Wallabies. He has cited that he wants to spend more time with his family. Now, this is a beautiful thing. There's a few people who've come out and sort of said they're a bit upset with him. They're about to have a game against the Japanese. I think it's this weekend. Yes, it is. Yeah, this weekend. And then they're flying to Europe for games against the Lions and the English and everyone else. And I love this. I think he spent so much time away from his family lately. And even though he's still young, I think he wants to be with his family. And that's a beautiful thing.
I think so too. I think it's, you know, we've talked at length on the show about the impact of COVID and, you know, I guess just how unknown every week is for these sports people as well. I think it's quite, you know, humbling that he has chosen his family over representing his country. And, you know, he makes a huge impact to the Wallabies. There's no doubt at all. So he will be really missed in that team. And I think leaves a massive hole. But at the end of the day, you know, through all of this, as much as we want to see him in the green and gold, your family comes first. And I think it's quite great that he's made that choice. So
it's hard because you can't be angry at a guy for doing something for his family. And I think so many people have come out and been angry at him. And I think that's wrong. Like, I
think it's wrong too. I agree. And how can you put your wife and your children above sport? Yes, livelihood for sure. But, you know, I think he's, you've got to do what's right for you. And obviously he's made that call based on that. So
it's nice. Very good. Australia have won their warm-up T20 match against New Zealand by 3 wickets. Good friend of mine, Davey Warner, who I do not like at all, got a golden duck. And he has been struggling. That is when he scores 0 off 1 ball, just in case you guys aren't fans of cricket. Big shout out to Davey, mate. Come on the show anytime and defend yourself. But until then, I will continue to give it to you every week, like I did for many years. I've never been a fan of you, Davey Warner, so prove me wrong, mate. Now is the time to start scoring some runs. Australia's got their first game on Saturday night against South Africa. They're in with a big chance here. We've seen a lot of warm-up games. Next, I want to ask you about this. We didn't actually speak about it earlier. There was a guy from Ireland 2 or 3 nights ago who got himself a double hat trick. What do you think a double hat trick is?
Well, a hat trick.
I'd say 6.
3, right?
So I'd say 6.
Is it 5 in cricket?
It's 4.
Oh, what?
It's 4. Because I thought double hat trick means 3 and 3. That's 6, right? It turns out it's 4. I'm like, that's not a double hat trick. That's a quadruple trick or something. Yeah. It's
double hat trick 6. And look, I'm really bad, and everyone will tell you that. So, I don't do the numbers, but
you couldn't do a double hat trick as 4. I just don't understand it. But shout out to old mate from Ireland. I can't actually remember your name, but for getting 4 wickets in a row, because I think it's only the 3rd time it's ever happened. So yeah, don't care. Yeah. On cricket, I want to talk about the WBL. The girls had a lockdown in Tassie over last weekend, which was after the show we did last week. The girls are sort of struggling a bit at the moment because they're getting moved around the country as the netball girls were, and we'll talk about that as well. But shout out to Rachel Priest, who scored 107 off 68 balls for the Hobart Hurricanes, only the 4th century in WBBL history. massive respect for her and anyone else trying to score 100 in these conditions.
Did you see some of the shots though? Like, it's not just that she scored that amount of runs. She was smoking them. So credit to her. She's playing amazing. There were some really good games. So the Scorchers Heat game on Sunday afternoon, while I was enjoying a couple of quiet ales, went to a super over. So that was pretty exciting. The Heat just lost that one. Scorchers got up, and I think the Sydney Sixers are doing really well. And I think they are going to go a long way with the sort of the team that they have. But local girl Hancock, who is a bit of a local legend and a lovely chick, she's bowling amazing, and she got a 3 for in the last game. So they played last night, and she took out Devine and Mooney. So if there's 2 wickets you want to get in Big Bash, it's those 2. So the girls are doing really well, and the caliber is just it continues to rise, and great to see the skill level increase every year for the WBBL.
I find it hard with the Sixers too, because it's virtually the Aussie.
Pretty well.
Which is it's hard because they're going to win or almost win it. Maybe they should be sort of separating them a bit. It's kind of like when
they're stacked. They're very.
I'm gonna hate to say this, but it's kind of like when the Storm was so stacked and they were just winning everything. And yes, they were cheating it at the time, but it just seems like the Sixers are too good. Yeah.
If they drop a game, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny though. So let's sort of watch and see what the next few, weeks, what we see in the next few weeks, and see whether they do actually drop a game, because I think there will be a lot of eyes watching. Certainly, as you said, it's pretty much the Aussie team. So, it's kind of like the Swiftsy netball. It was pretty much the Aussie team, and, they got it done. So there you go.
I did. I remember that one. Yeah. As you guys know, I am a Cronulla Sharks fan, and my forward, Andrew Fafita, he had an injury to his throat. He had a crushed larynx. And this kind of happened sort of innocuously, and no one sort of understood what was going on. He sort of came off earlier in the second half, about around 17 or 18 of this year. And the Sharks trainer took him off the sideline, and he was struggling to breathe. And so he rang an ambulance immediately and took him in for surgery. Now, Fafita has come out this week and said he actually texted his wife while he was in the back of the ambulance and said, "Look, I love you. Raise the kids well, look after yourself, and if you want to move on, all that stuff." And he thought he was dying. And this is before he went in for surgery. And when he went in for surgery, they nicked an artery, and he lost 4 liters of blood. And so had a transfusion, all that got sorted. And obviously Fafita's still got a year left on his contract with the Sharks. And he's come out, I think he was on 60 Minutes or a Current Affair last weekend. And it was just a humbling thing to watch, because rugby league is such a manly sport, and everyone's so tough and in your face all the time. But Fafita showed a softer side, and he was in town with the 2 of us for a couple of years, and just to see a different side of such a big man is just a beautiful thing. So big shout out to him and his family, and hopefully you continue down the path of happiness and wellness. So.
Imagine, you're in that situation and you're sending that message to your family, and then imagine the opposite, being the recipient of that message. I can't actually imagine it. So a full credit to him. Let's hope he recovers well. And we often speak about how he's a local boy from our hometown, and it was a horrific injury, and I just can't even imagine the situation that he and his family have been in. So fingers crossed through all that.
There's a couple of things tonight on this show that I need to talk about that are going to be hard for me to say. The first one is the Roosters. So let's all just take a sip of our drinks and just relax while I talk about Josh Morris signing on for 2 years as assistant coach of the Roosters. Now, of course, Fitzgibbon is leaving the Roosters to go to the Sharks, which is fantastic, until the Sharks win a comp, and then you guys all get to say, "Oh, there was an ex-Rooster that won the comp." Anyway, Josh Morris, of course, Josh Morris has signed on for 2 years as the assistant coach under what's his name, Trent Robinson. And they're also getting Jason Riles back. So Riles has been over in the UK spending time under Eddie Jones. Now, we all know Eddie Jones as a fantastic coach. And so Riles is going to get a lot of experience under Jones, and the two of them are going to come together under Trent Robinson. And quite frankly, I am terrified.
I don't think you need to be terrified. You've got someone who's amazing that's going to help your crap football team.
You guys have got 3 amazing players now, so that's a good thing. So thank you to Josh Morris for ruining my show. So thank you, Josh Morris.
Always a rooster that ruins things. No, that's a great news. That's really great news.
Yeah. Look, in the final piece of news we have before we do the good, bad, and ugly, the Matildas, one of my favorite Australian football teams, are in the country to play Brazil on Saturday night at Parramatta Stadium. This is the first of a double header. Tune in on Saturday night. The game is on free to air. I can't remember what channel. I'm very sorry, but have a look. Look it up. Parramatta Stadium, Saturday night. The second game, I believe, is on Tuesday. It's their first time in the country in nearly 2 years. So you guys should all get out there and either watch the game live or watch it on TV and support the girls, because they are kicking ass all over the world.
What's your score prediction, Spink? What do you think?
Brazil are a good team. I think the Socceroos will get up probably 3-1. 3-1.
Okay.
3-1.
Femco recently got nominated for, is it the Ballon d'Or? There's my
the
French.
Ballon d'Or, yes. The
Yeah,
Ballon d'Or.
that one.
Yes,
That one.
yes.
Which is effectively one of the best, for the best football in the world.
Yeah.
I don't actually know the result of it, but I know she was nominated. So a shout out to her. That's an amazing achievement. But yeah, I actually think it might be 2-1, and I think Brazil might get up. So
Ooh, there you go.
there we go.
That's very un-Australian of you, Ness. So thank you.
Right.
Thanks for
Sorry.
that. Righto, guys. Time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ness, what do you got for us this week?
All right. So I've got 2 things for the good, and I feel like I'm going to take one of Bo's, because
Fine. He's in here.
if he's not willing to join us, then I get to take one of his, right? I want to shout out, and we've talked a little about the WBBL, but Shefali Verma, I think is how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's her first season in the WBBL. She's an Indian opener with the Sixers, and she's one of 8 Indian reps that's playing in that competition this year. It's been really great to see them. They are making a really big difference to the competition, and I think it's going to be great seeing how they evolve and how they take that back to their Indian national team, and how that just helps strengthen the international game. But I read something today where she actually worked with her dad to cut her hair, and had to, it's probably not in the good section actually on reflection of this story, but she actually had to cut her hair to pretend she was a boy and go on a boys' tour to play cricket. And I just think that it's good from her dad's perspective that he just was so invested in his own daughter's life and her life choice to play cricket, the game that she loved, to progress through that. And credit for her for just being,
What happened? What happened on that tour?
Yeah, so she actually got like man of the match and man of the series, and they had no idea that she was actually
that good. Yeah.
So what a
That's
legend.
fantastic. Yeah, that's so
She's been opening with Elisa Healy. Like, what an amazing opportunity for this girl. And, Australia and India are going to come against each other in future international tests in the next, couple of years. And what an amazing opportunity for her to really get an insight into how the Aussies play.
And as you said, that's only going to strengthen the sport over there too.
Oh, 100%.
That's great. Yeah, very nice.
My actual good that I had prepared was lockdown has presented us with so much time, and this is actually a bit of a shout out to my housemate because she got me onto this. But KO Sports is probably one of the best things that's ever happened in the world, and I love it. Shout out to the people that let me use their accounts as well. So thank you. You know who you are. We often speak on this show about basketball and netball and, F1 and all of that, but and we talked on the first episode, for those that are still tuning in 13 later, about why we love sport and what makes it so accessible. If you have any reservation about sport at all, know that you can go to KO and you can find yourself watching a sport where you could actually participate. And so I'll read out a few. lawnmower racing, cracking.
Favorite. Yeah.
Marble racing,
Beautiful.
air guitar championships,
Yes.
death diving. Have you seen that? Wicked.
Off the cliffs. Oh, it's magnificent. Yeah.
Yep.
My hands get sweaty watching it. It's great.
Oh, absolutely death-defying stuff. Pinball, buck hunter, gotta love it. Disc golf, e-kart, acrobatic pizza, and chess spinning are some of the best. But do yourself a favor and tune in to cherry pit spitting. It is fantastic. And I cannot believe on one rainy afternoon while I was having a glass of wine with my housemate, we watched 2 hours of it. So it's really easy.
Yes, you did. That's beautiful.
And I got tagged in something this week on Insta about the balloon World Cup. So you effectively are like hitting a balloon and keeping it off the ground, and people are wearing helmets and there's obstacles and they have to navigate around them. So, you know, it's a game that we did and they have a World Cup. So I feel like, Spinks, there's hope for us. There's hope for
fantastic. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's my good this week. I just think credit to KO Sports for bringing us the most obscure sports in the world.
Yes.
Wasting my time watching it. It's been great.
Yeah. I love it. That's so good.
My bad this week is about Gymnastics Australia, and they've decided to actually not send any Australian athletes over to the World Champs, which are meant to be in Tokyo this year. They're citing that COVID and logistical challenges are, you know, the reason for it not to happen. I just think it's bad in terms of, I think we're at a point where, you know, Australia is at around 65-70% fully vaccinated. Here in Canberra,
83.
Yeah, Canberra is killing it. I know a lot of the athletes train here at the AIS. I just feel like at some point life needs to return to normal. And I feel that with the championships running at the end of October, we're sort of at a point where, yeah, there probably was a bit of uncertainty about whether the vaccination rate would be high enough. But these are athletes that, similar to the athletes that went away for the Olympics, they've been training for 4 years for these championships, and to not get the opportunity again, and for it to be the first time where no Australians are represented in a championship where we typically do quite well. I just really feel for them, and a lot of them came out on social media, which prompted my, need to talk about it in the bad section this week. But they're obviously devastated, and the hours that they put into perfecting all of those very technical elements of the sport, I really feel for. So.
It seems weird. Why would they be having it in Japan and it not be safe, whereas they had the Olympics only like 2 months ago? If they were having it in Thailand, I get it, but they're having it in Japan. It just seems a bit backwards. Yeah.
And many of them probably stayed over there, right? Like after the Olympics.
Exactly. That was still there. Yeah.
I really don't know. I probably needed to have researched that bit more, but
sorry.
Sorry.
You're in the bus.
Yeah. But my ugly this week is, and we've spoken a bit about tennis on this show, but good old Novak Djokovic. And I'm not, I'm just not a fan at all, but this is ugly for a few reasons, I should say. So he's come out quite publicly this week to say that he's not going to tell you about whether he's been vaccinated or not. The Victorian government and many other governments around the country and in fact the world are actually implementing or they're mandating that you need to be vaccinated to attend and to participate in major events. The ACT being a complete exception to that with our human rights legislation here. But I'll step back and say, in defense of him, even though I don't really like him, is he's a human too, and it's 100% his right as a human being to not tell you whether he's vaccinated. So I don't necessarily need to tell you that I have any other health condition, right? Like it's my choice if I want to do that. Yeah. That said, it's his occupation to play tennis. He's made that choice. And he's opting not to provide information on whether he's vaccinated for his job and his workplace. Yeah. And therefore that may permit, would not permit him to play, I should say. So I think, it's kind of ugly. I feel it's ugly in the fact that he's making such a big deal of the situation. So there's that end, and the media is absolutely loving this and playing up.
Yeah.
And I also feel like life has to go on. I think you can't force people to be vaccinated. I certainly think everyone should. I think for their own health, well-being, and the protection of everyone around them, just do it and get it done. But I also step back and go, if you truly don't want to do that, there's nothing to say that you actually have to.
Yeah.
So I just think the whole situation's a bit ugly, but welcome your thoughts on this, Spinks, and how you feel about it.
There's a few sports stars around the world that have sort of said they're not going to get, like Kyrie Irving in the NBA. I think he's going to lose about $40 million a season if he doesn't. Novak is probably similar because there's certain countries around the world that he still can. But the AFL here in Australia actually came out this afternoon and said every player has to be vaccinated. So this is early days yet. I think it happened about 2 hours ago. So I'm sure we'll hear in the next few days a few guys sort of stepping away from the game, maybe, or there'll be a bit of uproar. But look, each state and territory can't sort of make a guideline on what you do. But if you're hosting an event, you are the host of that event. You can make up whatever rules that you want. And so,
really can. Yeah,
it's your event to host. If you say vaccinated or not vaccinated, that's fine, and they can't come. So that's just how it is. A lot of sporting events, sporting leagues around the world have gone down the vaccination route, and hopefully we sort of get this squashed and everyone's got the shot, and we just carry on as we were, because we want the best to be here. And I think Novak's won the Australian Open more times than anyone else. And so, yeah, and I think he's aiming for the slam ahead of Federer if he wins the next one. So it'd be nice if it happened here. But I don't think we're probably only 2 or 3 months out now. I don't think that's going to happen. So
I think that's the thing. We absolutely want to see them here. So, at what point do you make that call for your own career and for the fact that you need to progress and be part of that, and and just get it done, versus how you really feel? I don't know. I'm really torn by it. But I also see from an event perspective, then these sports have the opportunity to make these rules because they're taking the risk on it. So
I just can't see a man like him who's made probably $140 million over the last like 20 odd years. He probably doesn't care that much when he can go over and do the US Open or other Opens and stuff like that. I don't think he cares. Whereas coming out here to Australia is the best thing in the world because we live in the greatest country on earth. So shout out to all you Aussies out there. We love you guys. Anyways, my good, bad, and ugly this week. My good is the debut of our lovely Aussie legend Paddy Mills for the Nets. He came off the bench. He shot 7 from 7 from beyond the arc. Made about 25 in the game, but it wasn't enough when the Bucks overcame the Nets 127 to 104 in the opening game of the season. Paddy was on fire at the Olympics, and the kid is only getting stronger. His beard and hair are getting uglier, but he's getting stronger on the court. So big shout out to Paddy. My bad is fast bowlers, Aussie fasties that are getting injured every single season now. James Pattinson has retired from cricket. He retired from the Aussie team. We still have games for WA, I think it is, or Victoria. I'm not sure. I need to check that, guys. Sorry. He had 81 wickets, average of 26.3 in 21 test matches across 9 seasons. Being a fast bowler, you are injured all the time. It's those legs, it's the back, it's that impact when you hit the ground, when you deliver the ball. There's a lot that goes into it. There's only really been a couple of Aussies who have sort of gone through 5 to 8 years without having serious injury, and he was just one of those unlucky guys. So shout out to him. I love watching him out there in the park, and he was probably on the cusp of an Ashes selection this year, but we'll see how he goes with Victoria the next couple of seasons. So I
live with a fast bowler, and it's I kind of joke about cricket not being a real sport. She's going to kill me for that one. But I've completely seen the impact that it has on you. And you're right. It's that, you see a lot of it in fast bowlers that they suffer really significant injuries. So, that's a real bugger.
if she wants to defend herself, come on the show anytime.
That's right.
So,
And to that point.
That's it. To that point there. That's it. All right, guys. My ugly this week is ugly, and I'm going to go on this rant. You guys know I love going on a rant. Micheal Slater, who was the opener for Australia for a number of years in the 90s and maybe early 2000s. He's been charged with domestic violence against his wife. Now, I grew up in the 80s. I was raised in the 90s, and I graduated shortly after the 2000s. I've watched this guy with New South Wales with Australia. He then retired from the game, and he was on my big sports show that I watch and listen to every day with TK and Slats. He's recently been fired from Channel 7 because he made a comment about ScoMo on Twitter. Now, it'd be un-Australian if you didn't make a comment about ScoMo. That's fine, mate. I don't care at all. You went on a rant, you got the sack. Australia doesn't not agree with you about it, but you just went about it the wrong way. On Tuesday, coppers were called to his house in Manly, and the 52-year-old was charged with domestic violence against his wife. What kind of piece of shit of a human are you to beat on a woman, physically, verbally, mentally, whatever it is, who's probably half your size? What happens to people like you deserve to go to jail, and there'll be bigger dudes in jail than you that treat you like their wife. I followed you for many years. You're my idol, and you've just turned on me, mate. And I'm absolutely disgusted in the person that I saw on Tuesday get arrested, and you should be sent to jail and made to be someone else's wife. You never raise your hand to a woman ever, and I'm disgusted in you. So I know that was a rant, but I had to say it. So there we go.
No, you're right. And I feel like his family were actually part of our region and grew up in our region. And so you're absolutely right. We followed him as children, and I didn't grow up loving cricket, but everyone knows who Micheal Slater is, and he's been part of the journey in commentating for the last 15 years since he's given up professional cricket. So you're exactly right, and there's no place for it. Be it a man to a woman or a woman to a man. Equally, it's as disgusting and very sad to see that sort of happen. And obviously the sacking, he's been sacked from his job too. There's obviously a lot going on in his life. I hope he's getting the support that he needs, but yeah, it's bad. It's a bad situation.
And that's why you're here, to be the calm head. Well, I'm the person. Thank you for that.
Yeah, not say I'm the calm head,
in this situation.
Work say I'm the calm head.
Coming up this weekend, guys, we have the T20 Cricket World Cup. Aussies have a game on Saturday night. The Wallabies have a game against the Japanese also on Saturday night. There's heaps of sport to look out for. The WBL has a four-header, a quadruple header, we say that, on Saturday. Four games. A double hat-trick.
Honestly.
I missed that. God damn it. That should be my line. Have a double hat-trick of games on Saturday. NFL continues to roll on Monday and Tuesday. College football on Sunday. The Premier League is on. There'll be Formula One on. If you guys can't find something to watch, you're not trying hard enough. Yes.
I need to dive in here. So I've got a friend coming over at 5:00 to get ready for the Austin, Texas Formula One.
Yes.
I've turned a corner. I've absolutely turned a corner. My obsession with is next level. It's like my Instagram feed is just full of it. I've joined TikTok just to listen to Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc and Daniel Ricciardo. So I don't know what happened in the last few weeks, but
you've turned. You've turned.
Real.
Yeah.
And I'm booking my trip to Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix in 2022.
Yes, it looks like the Australian Grand Prix has been moved to the third race of the season. So I think it's going to be early April. Yeah, there we go. See?
Get amongst it, folks. Yeah. Register now to get your ticket information.
Through Ness. Ring her.
Through me.
Here is her number. Ring Ness.
I don't know, but maybe I'd like to.
Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. My interview with Gus Warland will be up in a few days' time. Make sure you check it out. If you're a basketball fan, go back and watch the last episode we did, the interview with Luca. Until next week, hooroo.
Hooroo, and we miss you both.
See you, bye.
Done it.